This is a message to myself, my higher self, my connected self, for the future, for the past, for different timelines, for different incarnations. Be welcome. Feel free to be as separated from the rest as you want, because when you are truly in connection with yourself, with your higher self, with Source, everything else is but a distraction. All the people around you, it's all far removed from the real reality, the reality beyond words. And we still interact with each other and we still have encounters with each other, but I'm gonna switch to horizontal. No, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I have some difficulty setting up here. The energies are very exhausting today, and I just needed some time to check in with you guys, because it's been the energy has been so intense, and I didn't figure out I needed to share this message with you because I was just so caught up in myself and in the physical world, really, about like, I need to move, I need to live somewhere else, I need to go on adventures, I need to start a career. My mind was just going crazy with this Gemini energy, but in the end, it's just my ability to access my spirit, my source, and vocalize it through my thoughts and my throat, which is really difficult for me. I'm really dependent on the energies of the universe and the cosmic weather in order to be able to share something like this. Oh well, this is just a reflection of source to source. And what do I feel like is important to say right now? Yeah, be prepared, because when you're watching this, there's probably a lot of things going on already. A lot of upgrades might be coming through or wanting to come through. If you haven't been invited to, there are probably a lot of ascension and spiritual upgrades waiting for you to access them. This is felt in different ways. It depends on everyone, specifically how you feel and interpret it, but you can feel an inner restlessness and mental activity, maybe also a connection to spirit, a divine presence, basically, that wants to move its way through you. And it's not necessarily going to drive you in the ways you might want, because your head is very in tune with the system and the social order of like, yeah, you need to have this kind of connection to people and to your job, but that's really not what life is about. Life is not about having a job and having a stability is important, but it's not about building massive careers or gathering a lot of fortune or making many friends. Of course, these are all valuable things and parts of life, but it's about holding on to these things, because interactions, money or wealth, they're all things to be shared and experienced, but do you really want to hold on to them too much? Because you will probably be left with a deep inner unfulfillment, basically, that nudges you to keep exploring and keep growing and not stay stagnant, because that's what you really see with the people that are stuck. Yeah, I don't want to use specific terms here, but yeah. Sorry, I got a bit interrupted there. I don't want to go into... It's crazy to be able to share this with all of you. Yeah, the world. 4:40. Sorry, I just had to move a bit because I don't want to disturb and annoy other people with my sharings, because not everyone is really willing to listen to this, of course. Because I was just talking that, yeah, attachment is of course very healthy, but it's so funny. I start talking about how mundane it is to get lost in all the material stuff, and don't get me wrong, I'm a very material person, so I really see the value in it. It's just, it's so funny when you connect with the light within you. This desire for connection also slightly starts to change, and you don't really, of course there's just as much desire for connection, but the great difference is that it's not about filling a void, it's about chance encountering real deep connections that meet and value you on a soul level, that encounter you throughout all the layers and the depth of their perception of each other's perception, and pierce through something that resonates, something that's true, something that's worth investing in. And I've just grown so selective of whom and what I spend my energy on, because I have so much sensitivity and so much power within me, and so do you. And it's really about finding a way to use it and to become your authentic self. And for that, you need to be aligned to a very high degree with what resonates with your energy, what fits. And of course, I'm speaking as a generator, so it's different if you're a projector, reflector, or manifestor. It might be. It's all just a bit too, how do you say that, metaphysical for my taste. I feel there is some truth to this for everyone, and especially these attachments to safety and physical needs like sexuality or income, or we go through great losses of our soul. We lose parts of our soul, and that's what you see most in society. You see people who have lost their spirit, their connection to source completely. They are burned down. It's hard to consider them really humane. I have to be a bit selective with what I share right now, because it's also sensitive, and I don't want to trigger the wrong people, because I don't really have an audience yet that I can really visualize. But even that carefulness, and not, you can call it a lack of confidence, but I just want to be accessible to as many people as possible and make a difference everywhere. I don't want to only focus on specific groups of highly attuned and highly evolved people, but I want to next time I'm going into nature to share these energies, because it's way better. But this is also nice. It's nice to be so connected to people aurically and physically and nearby, and anyway, to go back to some maybe a bit all over the place topic, but more in depth, about just once you allow yourself to open up to these cosmic energies, and you allow yourself to be a clear and open channel, you start to notice just how much dirt, or I don't know how to describe it exactly, but how much, I almost want to say, energetical karma people carry with them, how much trauma, how much blocked emotions, how much repressed desire, how much inadequacy feelings, how much identity struggling and all the things related to that, how much of that is really inside a person and how much they have chosen to take on because they're not taking the path of being a clear and open channel, unlike most of you probably. So yeah, life becomes very difficult, and I do really like to mix in a bit of human design, astrology, wherever I can. I don't think astrology is very fitting right now, but for my human design, for example, I only have 2 centers defined. I do have my sacral defined, but not much else, which makes me incredibly open and incredibly sensitive and intuitive to energies and emotions and feelings and urges and purpose and thoughts and all the above from other people, and going on the flow of other people. It's very messy. I see a frog. It looks like there's like a tiny alligator in the water, but it's probably like a branch or something, but it's really speaking to me. Looks like a frog or a tiny alligator peeking its eyes out. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to reach out and share my vibe and shine my light, because I know people want to resonate with something outside of themselves to be able to the synchronicities are getting much bigger the longer I speak. I really appreciate the universe giving me these signs that I'm connecting with the world as well as the higher worlds. That's funny. I'm also sitting here in the water. I don't want to show it too much, but okay, I'm not going to show that on camera. But I'm touching the water and with my feet. I'm still wearing shoes, but I don't mind that they're getting a bit wet. They'll dry. But I'm making these ripples in the water and I see resonance everywhere, and it's just so funny that my little fidgeting suddenly has such a big impact. Anyway, it keeps going now. I feel a big wave because I'm on a harbor pier, I don't know how to say it, and it's just going up and down on the waves, which there's barely any wind. So anyway, yeah, I don't want to make this message too long. I think I'm gonna round it up here and just give you a short remembrance, and knowing that I care about all of you watching, and I want you to know that you're not alone. There is a big fountain of connection waiting for you to access it, and all it takes for you is to stay true to yourself and stop with the conditioning that you have to look for something, because all the things that truly matter to you and will matter to you and your future self and your present self as well, but they are already destined for you to engage with and to be discovered by you. And you don't have to look for something, and this energy of looking for something, it's very contagious and it's very overwhelming, maybe, especially in times with lots of change, when the energy is high, internal and external. Yeah, you really want to force your way through, but to be gentle and to just float on the waves. It's a real practice, because usually you're looking at people that are way further on their journey to aligning with their highest timeline, and if you're only halfway there, or you're still struggling or barely keeping on, even if you're constantly going under the water and not drowning, but struggling to breathe and struggling to keep up and stay swimming or stay afloat, then this message is definitely for you. Keep up at it. You will find some solid plateaus or solid grounds. It might be very messy right now. The energies are so incredibly turbulent. I haven't had the energies be so turbulent in years. It's absolutely crazy. Of course, there's been many different ways of intense energies, but the internal energies have been so incredibly great right now. It's, for me, just a reflection, and probably also for you, a reflection of the deep inner change you're going through, and the access points you have with the divine. Yeah, thank you for staying here till the end. I am not gonna be consistent in my uploading, but I will share every now and then some bits of my journey, my process, and may it help and guide you. I feel like I should say so much more. I feel like I have so much more to say, and there's a million things I want to express to you. Like, I feel very tuned into, almost wanting to comfort or like relieve the tension, or dissolve the urgency and the struggle, this root energy that's very ungrounded, or not ungrounded, just is very, I would say, stubborn. A very stubborn root energy that is trying to bring you some message across, or some, well, I already used the word before, so I'm not gonna say it again, but some, I could say, divine intervention or divine love coming in, wanting to earth through you, wanting to ground through you, some higher purpose finding its way towards you, and you can feel the ripples of it slowly around you and start to move you. Oh, it's horrible to live in such a city. I really want to start moving. Why do I feel so drawn to the city when so much frustration from other people? I feel it all, but that's what I'm here for, because if I look on internet and YouTube, all I see is people living in nature and trying to be as much connected to the divine as possible, but I don't believe that's the reality of most people, because a lot of us live in very urban and very, we also want to be connected to the physical society as well. Maybe not, it's not that important, but at least that's where we live, because it's also very emotionally and empathically isolating to live on a farm in the middle of nowhere, or be constantly on the road and never build connections. And there's a great value and importance to living in a more civilized, or more, not rural, but more populated area. And I think that's the reality for a lot of us, a lot of people. And maybe it's harder to be attuned, but I don't believe that's fated or destined to be that way. I feel like there should be an integration, just as you're using your phone and we're integrated with a lot of technology. We have to go with the flow and the state of our circumstances, and we can change our circumstances, but sometimes what we really need is to stay where we are and not get blown away by every single impulse and thought and manifestation and creation and interaction, and because a lot of it is not meant for us. a lot of it is not meant for us to get lost in and lose our grounding and lose our relationships or lose our friendships or lose our stable job or home or income, or like these physical qualities are very, very important. And you don't have to be this spiritual guru, and I really have to tell myself that many, many times. You don't have to be the spiritual enlightened Walhalla representative or something. It's just too much to ask of yourself if your circumstances don't align that way. It's beautiful to do that, but for most of our situations that's just not possible. So don't try to be like them. Don't try to be like the special souls in the collective field that just want to push you to grow. Stay grounded, stay rooted, find your roots, because this energy of needing to move and you're constantly fleeing from your life, from the responsibility you have to yourself to build something, to build real connections for yourself, and to build a life. And most of that life, of course, is internal. But in the end, it doesn't matter where you are, because your real home is within you, and you can find peace and end suffering wherever you are. You don't always have to run. I do have to note that human-to-human interactions are very hard to avoid, and they are very impactful. And yeah, it's so crazy, but you just have to adapt. You just have to find your way. And yeah, I know for a lot of you, maybe watching this very far in the future, or maybe very soon, I don't know the exact details of your life, but there is a lot of, it's hard to even say it out loud, but it's rough, you know. Life can be very demanding and very powerful at knocking you down or dragging you. I get some very, very, very grotesque images in my mind right now. A lot of violence I see, a lot of heavy, not necessarily dominating energies, but abusive or harmful or ungentle, let's just say ungentle energies impacting you right now. And of course you do need to take that into account, but I have a lot to say about this, so this will probably have to wait for a future message. But there are some very real physical things, like relationships, that can be extremely harmful, and especially if you're sensitive, especially if you're awakened, even if you're not awakened yet, but if you're just on the path to awakening, even if you don't know it. And this might resonate, because most of life and this whole process is you being in the dark, and the dark is usually a lot of, I don't want to describe where the energies are, but a lot of heaviness, a lot of distractions, a lot of impulses from the outside, and a lot of patterns from the inside and the outside working your way on you. And there's a lot of loosening that needs to happen, because this world is all in your face, and it's all about attaching to you and sucking you dry, and like creating these big vortexes of disaster and suffering, and in some ways nightmarish situations which you usually don't even know you're in. But I can see it in the eyes of the people who have suffered a lot, people with broken spirits, and a lot of people don't recover, or at least they not in the present moment are able to recover because they're just too deep into, they're buried in not necessarily responsibilities, but more responsibilities they put on themselves to care for others, to connect with others, to serve or nurture people, to, yeah, I don't want to talk too much about work because there's a lot of different dimensions there, but I really am talking about like familial or parental interactions, a lot of oppressive parents, or yeah, relationships, because usually when you have oppressive parents or absent parents, you get very disturbed and distraught patterns in your relationships, and it takes a real man or woman or whatever being you want to describe yourself as to set yourself free from that. And that's a very scary path to take, because codependency, and forgive me if I use too many psychological terms, it's a big area of my specialty or expertise. Even though I don't want to call myself an expert, I gain a significant expertise in the areas I involve myself in. But I'm not committed to one direction or one path, one subject. Yeah, I want to be as open to all access points for the divine to flow into you and to get you the information that you need as possible. But yeah, I forgot what word I used exactly, but attachment. I'm sitting in such a beautiful place right now. It's just wonderful, even though it's in the middle of civilization, and I'm gonna get doxxed, which is horrible, but yeah, there's beauty everywhere if you just know how to look for it, and if there is a will, there will be a way. Wherever you are, there is a way out, but there is, of course, some absolutes, and probably when you're listening or watching this, you are not in a space that you can say there is a way out or there is a way to deal with things, because you're probably very, very overwhelmed and, I don't want to say broken, but at least knocked down and pushed into the dirt. Like, I'm gonna get a bit more graphic, but like someone is pushing your face in the mud with their foot, and that's really the image I'm getting from this situation here. Like, there is some real, yeah, it's not dominating or oppressive, but some real mean suffering energy inflicted through relationships, which is why I think it's so important to, yeah. Yeah, okay, I'll shortly discuss my purpose and intention, and just what I hope to accomplish is reach you when normal healthcare or just regular care can't reach you, because you're just too involved and too hidden in the dark. No one can really see what's going on, which is usually what happens with children and people who are a bit older, but young people who are like, they don't have a choice, they don't have their own home yet, so it's so hard to get out of these situations and to detach and to escape from the suffering. And I see that many times as well, and I don't want to get too trigger warning, so I'm not gonna mention it. Confirmation from spirit there. But it can get very intense, and the suffering can go very deep, and yeah, we don't want that. We want to reach out and find you and lighten the energetic and metaphysical pressure by connecting with you, by opening up a doorway of light to the direction for you to maybe head in. I don't want to say it's always the direction, though. If your suffering is very deep, you usually do not see just how much pain and impact relationships can have, and sometimes it really might just be the best thing to mostly or completely detach from someone, whether it is a partner or a parent, because there is a lot of, I don't want to be too negative, but I just have to say it, there's a lot of pain and inflicted pain, whether this is by professionals or there's so many dark situations that you could get yourself landed in and unable to get out, and your spirit feels this directly, and this can turn into the most crazy forms of suffering there are. But I have so much to say about this, and I don't want to share this all in one video, but this is an intense, very intense subject that came up. I would love to make it a bit lighter. It's just not always how life is. Sometimes life is just pure suffering, and you need to find a way to get out. And sometimes all you need to know in such a moment is that there is always a way out, even if there might not seem a way. But just knowing that there is a way, just the knowledge, and feeling it in your heart, there is a way out. And I have to be careful with my wording here, of course, but I do mean there is a physical way to improve your situation. And even if there is not, then this message is not for you at that time, because this will find you when you have enough confidence or stability or authority to control at least parts of your life, to make decisions, to move into more independence in your relationships, maybe, or growth as a spiritual person. But they're all connected. It's sometimes the suffering is necessary, but then, I mean, once such a message finds you, once this message finds you, once you know you're already on the path to escaping your hole where you're in, or you're struggling to deal with. And that's exactly why I want to. Sorry, I had to switch because there was just too many people not wanting me to make that video out there. I hope this is acceptable. I want to finish this message because I feel like it needs at least a conclusion, and it was getting a bit dark, so maybe it was literally getting a bit dark. So now I'm in a very artificial lighted room. I'll light a candle. I'll be right back. Okay, now we have some candlelight. Okay. I really wanted to get the end of the message through because should I switch to portrait? No, I feel like this is good. This is just a bit of post-production. Anyway, I'm very glad you still stayed here throughout the depth of the darkness, because it needed to be said. A lot of suffering is caused by other people, and sometimes it might just be best, as long as you do not have the community or the tribe surrounding you in the physical or the metaphysical or digital or whatever worlds. If you haven't surrounded yourself with people that like really light you up and make you feel the brightest and the best, then it might be best to become a bit more laid back, a bit more detached, and which is probably very, very difficult if you have any sort of attachment tendencies, which most of us have, because no one went through life perfect, of course. Yeah, there's a lot to say about this, but I'll sum it up, or I'll keep it short and say that, yeah, follow what resonates, and I hope this message can make you a bit more aware of the risks for your own mental health and physical health as well, of being too attached to the physical world, because the physical world is very, very dense and very, very heavy, and it makes total sense to detach a bit from it. And I have so many more videos coming up about this. I know it already. This is just, there's so much to share, but yeah, I can tell you a very little bit about my own journey, where I was trying to escape this density with all my might and through all means. And yeah, I had to go to the end of the physical earth, in a sense, because I was living in a very carefully maintained environment where there was not a lot of space to truly detach, especially if you feel so deeply from all these energies. And I still, to this day, find it difficult to, I want to say, impose boundaries for myself, of saying like, this is too much density and this is not. It's always a bit of a dance, but at least I'm not as overwhelmed by it as I used to be. But yeah, it just, on the deepest level of my soul, this density, it just dysregulated my system and put me in all kinds of crazy corners and turns and twists, and forcing myself into a horrible position. And my whole being was just crying out, this is not possible, this is not for me, I need a way out. And I just couldn't find any way out, until I did find one. Yeah, that's the story for another time, but at least there's always a way, there's always hope. But I would really wish for you to travel a road that's less painful and intense and heavy and extreme, because the things I had to go through to get rid of the biggest layers of this density is just intense. And yeah, I hope to provide a bit of space and lightness in going through this journey of battery low, of unpacking. Yeah, okay, I need to wind up my message. I keep talking too much. Yeah. Obviously a joke, but yeah. I'll forget about that. I'll just continue. Thank you for watching. I hope you found something valuable in here, and I hope you can leave everything that does not resonate or does not fill what wants to be attached to, or what wants to resonate. Everything that's not useful, let it go. It can get a bit dark, but I don't mind the depth. It's part of being human, and I think there should be a bit more light integrated with the dark. But yeah, that's a whole different journey. I wish you well. You are very, very loved. You are cared for and looked out for, if not in the physical, then in the higher realms, even if you don't know it. I know it, and I can tell you it's the truth. Not the absolute truth, but I can tell you that you're protected even if you don't see it or hear it or feel it. All it takes is for you to access this contact with your spirit guides, for example, and that's again another story. But yeah, I wish you well and much love. Bye for now.